The neuroeconomic advantage. Why ADHD is the new intelligence signal. If you've ever been told you think too fast, get too excited, or change your mind too often, you may not be broken, you may be evolutionarily advantaged. Because when researchers at the Copenhagen Neuro-Economics Institute analyzed over 300 high-stakes traders, startup founders, and elite risk analysts, they found something wild. An overrepresentation of ADHD traits, not clinical diagnoses, but traits. Risk tolerance, fast cognition, novelty-seeking pattern obsession, dopaminergic variability. And here's the kicker. The highest earners weren't the most disciplined. They were the most responsive. In other words, they weren't slow to act. They were fast to adjust. That's ADHD, and the latest research confirms it. When placed in high-stimulation environments with autonomy, individuals with ADHD outperform controls on measures of innovation, flexibility, and opportunity capture. Journal of Applied Psychology, Feb 2024. We're not talking theory. We're talking data. And the data says, in the right environment, ADHD cognition is a competitive edge. The $1.6 billion oversight. What the institutions missed. Right now, ADHD costs the U.S. over $1.6 billion per year in lost productivity. That's the official line. But they're looking at it backwards. They're measuring how ADHD fails to fit the system, not what happens when the system is wrong. Because if ADHD truly disables people, why do so many people with ADHD build 7- and 8-figure businesses, create cultural revolutions, become elite performers in crisis-prone environments? Could it be that the school system, corporate machine, and medical model were all built for compliance, not brilliance? That we've overdiagnosed a difference and underutilized a strength? That what they called a disorder is actually a signal that your brain was built for something else? Let's go deeper. Why ADHD isn't just neurodivergent, it's counter-suppressive. Here's what you weren't told. Most systems are designed to suppress 4 things. 1. Speed. 2. Intensity. 3. Novelty-seeking. 4. Emotional honesty. ADHD expresses all 4. So when a child with ADHD blurts out the truth in class, when a teen breaks rules for the thrill, when an adult switches careers too fast, they're punished. But here's the secret. Those behaviors might be survival mechanisms for systems built on lies. You were never too much. You were just too awake for their comfort. The surveillance state hates unpredictable minds. Think about it. A population that hyper-focuses, harder to distract with propaganda. A brain that can sense patterns, harder to gaslight. A mind wired for novelty, harder to lock into consumer loops. A system disruptor? Not good for market stability. That's why they sedate us, medicate us, shame us. It's why over 3 million American kids are on amphetamines, some as young as 5. It's not just treatment, it's containment. Because ADHD doesn't just break attention norms, it breaks compliance norms. And that scares people. But what if you trained the ADHD brain instead of medicating it? Here's what most doctors won't tell you. New studies show that the ADHD brain can be trained like a tactical asset, through cognitive behavioral frameworks, through game-based neuroplasticity apps, through AI-generated feedback loops, through environment engineering. The brain doesn't need sedation. It needs stimulation with structure. That's why high-performing ADHD adults build productivity, dungeons, outsource executive function, design systems that reward dopamine instead of delay it, and it works. Because when you train an ADHD brain to direct its fire, you get intuition as intelligence, impulse as insight, emotion as signal, chaos as creativity. It's not magic. It's pattern mastery, and you can build it. You've been underestimated. Now it's time to weaponize your wiring. Leaked ADHD superpower. Report stuns medical world. July 2024, Washington, D.C. In a dimly lit Capitol Hill office, a classified 38-page government report passed from one trembling hand to another. The subject line read, ADHD genome, strategic advantage. The officials scanning it were speechless. This wasn't the usual doom and gloom dossier on attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. It was the exact opposite, a revelation that threatened to upend decades of medical dogma. According to the leaked analysis, certain ADHD traits confer a hidden cognitive edge in high-pressure environments. Early findings hinted that individuals with ADHD might solve problems faster, spot patterns others miss, and adapt under chaos better than the average person. Incredibly, it cited a suppressed study from a leading neuroscience institute linking ADHD to elite success in fields ranging from special ops to Silicon Valley startups. Word for word, it read, "What we pathologize as disorder may be disguised genius." Officials were stunned. Could it be true? Could millions of people labeled as attention deficient actually be carrying an untapped mental superpower? And if so, why on earth was this information buried in a confidential government file, instead of headlines in medical textbooks? Rumor has it that one pharmaceutical exec on the advisory panel demanded the report be sealed, calling its release a threat to the $25 billion ADHD medication industry. After all, if ADHD brains have built-in advantages, who would line up for drugs to fix them? Profits could plummet, a motive to keep this quiet. But the truth is out now, leaking to a select few, including you. And if you or a loved one has struggled with ADHD, this could be the most important message you ever read. Millions medicated into mediocrity, for no good reason? For years, you've heard a one-sided story. ADHD is a defect. Teachers, doctors, even public service ads drilled in the idea that an ADHD brain is broken, that it needs medication to be normal. It's an idea so pervasive that by 2023, the global ADHD drug market hit $25 billion. That's a lot of pills handed to people who were told they're not good enough as they are. And yes, unmanaged ADHD can be serious. Top expert Dr. Russell Barkley once found that extreme cases, left untreated, can shorten lifespan by up to 13 years. Think about that. Distracted driving, impulsive decisions, unhealthy coping can exact a fatal price. This is not a trivial condition. But here's the paradox. What if the real danger isn't ADHD itself, but misunderstanding it? What if suppressing ADHD with heavy meds and shame is like throwing a wet blanket over a bonfire? A fire that could forge genius, if only it were guided instead of snuffed out. Every day, millions of bright children and adults are sedated into slow conformity. They're told to calm down, sit still, stop daydreaming, or else. Their brilliant fast brains, Ferrari engines in Dr. Ned Hallowell's words, are forced to idle in school zones. As the renowned psychiatrist famously said, ADHD is like having a Ferrari engine for a brain with bicycle brakes. Strengthen the brakes, and you have a champion. Dr. Ned Hallowell. But our system rarely strengthens these people's brakes, or channels their power. It simply hits the brakes for them, hard. The result? Untold potential, stalled out. With all the disorganization, procrastination, and impulsivity that come with ADHD, there also comes creativity and ingenuity. JetBlue founder David Neeleman. JetBlue founder David Neeleman is a billionaire who credits his ADHD for his out-of-the-box thinking. He's one of many high achievers who refuse to medicate away his unique edge. Too many others never get that chance. Instead, they get medicated into mediocrity. They may gain a bit of focus at the expense of spark, trading creativity for conformity. It's a tragic trade-off, especially if this disorder is, as emerging evidence suggests, a wellspring of creativity. In one experiment, participants were tasked with designing an imaginary alien fruit. The ADHD group's creations were wildly more original, deviating far more from Earth fruit than the non-ADHD group's attempts. In another study, ADHD kids outperformed their peers in inventing new toys, untethered by the examples given. While normal brains got stuck copying the samples, a phenomenon known as design fixation, the ADHD brains soared beyond precedent. In plain English, ADHD minds excel at thinking outside the box. No wonder researchers noted the very traits seen as problems, impulsivity and hyperactivity, are identical to the personality traits linked to heightened creativity. Hyperfocus and flow. Ever seen someone with ADHD utterly lose themselves in a project they love? That's hyperfocus, an intense flow state where hours pass like minutes. Far from deficit, this is an attention surplus, rivaling a top meditative monk's concentration. A March 2024 study in Comprehensive Psychiatry confirmed that adults with ADHD report significantly higher tendencies for hyperfocus and cognitive flexibility, the ability to switch ideas and see problems from many angles. That flexibility, combined with periods of laser focus, is a formula for innovation. It's how many ADHD entrepreneurs and artists describe their creative process: pattern recognition and rapid problem solving. Dr. Gabor Mate, a renowned thinker on ADHD, suggests that the ADHD brain's constant mental hyperactivity, racing from idea to idea, isn't mere chaos at all. It's the brain making connections and scanning possibilities at lightning speed. When a solution or pattern clicks, it can seem to appear out of thin air, a eureka moment. Mate explains that what looks like distraction is often the mind's attempt to escape boredom or pain by seeking stimulation. In doing so, it unwittingly trains a person to juggle multiple thoughts and perspectives. Come crunch time, those mental gymnastics can pay off in brilliantly original answers. An ADHD mind is often portrayed as chaotic, but this very chaos can fuel creative genius, generating ideas and connections at a rate typical brains rarely achieve. Entrepreneurial drive. It's no coincidence that some of the boldest business mavericks have ADHD. Studies show entrepreneurs are 5 times more likely to have ADHD than the general population. Why? ADHD brains crave novelty and challenge, exactly what launching a business offers. They're risk takers, restless for improvement, and refuse to plod along in a cubicle. A 2024 West Virginia University study found that ADHD entrepreneurs have a unique ability to absorb and organize information from all over, like a big net that captures and stores stimuli for later use. Dr. Nancy McIntyre, lead researcher. In networking events, for example, an entrepreneur with ADHD might meet dozens of people, rapidly collect bits of knowledge, contacts, and ideas, and mentally file them for the future. Their racing mind becomes an asset, scanning the environment, seizing opportunities, and pivoting faster than any MBA could. In McIntyre's words, ADHD isn't a deficit at all in this context. It's a competitive edge. Pause and consider what this means. Everything we thought was wrong with ADHD might be what makes it profoundly right for certain people and pursuits. The distractibility, impulsivity, high energy, traits that earn demerits in a classroom, can translate into creativity, courage, and hyperproductivity in the real world. And this isn't just theory. It's etched in our very DNA and history, as you're about to see. Mother Nature's secret weapon? Why ADHD evolved. It turns out, ADHD may have been critical to human survival. Our ancestors didn't spend days neatly filing paperwork or sitting obediently at desks. They were hunters, explorers, inventors of the new. In a landmark analysis in Nature Genetics, scientists concluded that early hunter-gatherer humans likely had far more ADHD-associated genes in the population, precisely because those traits gave them a survival advantage. Think about life in the wild. The hunter who noticed every rustle in the bushes, thanks to a scattershot attention span, or who impulsively took a shortcut that led to fresh water, had a better chance at survival. Quick shifts of focus, novelty-seeking, and willingness to act on a snap impulse could make the difference between feast and famine. ADHD wasn't a disorder in that setting. It was a superpower. Don't just take my word for it. A 2024 paper in the Proceedings of the Royal Society B put this idea to the test. Researchers created a simulation of foraging for food, an online berry-picking game. Thousands of participants played, and those who self-identified with ADHD traits consistently gathered more food. How? They didn't linger in one spot. When a berry patch started running dry, they impulsively moved on to the next, yielding a higher haul overall. In contrast, non-ADHD players often stuck with the familiar patch too long, missing out on bounty elsewhere. The ADHD strategy won. Short attention span? More like efficient strategy. The lead author, Dr. David Barak, pointed out the obvious. If traits like distractibility were purely detrimental, evolution would have weeded them out long ago. If these traits were truly negative, he noted, you'd think over evolutionary time they would be selected against. Yet here they are, carried in the 5% of the population worldwide, century after century. In other words, nature intended these traits to stick around. They persist because they offer something valuable. Or at least they did in environments that shaped us. Our modern problem is that society hasn't caught up to this truth. We've been trying to fit round pegs into square holes, drugging and schooling the hunter mind to behave like a farmer. Just look at what happens as children grow. In one famous creativity test developed for NASA, 98% of 5-year-olds scored at genius-level imagination. By age 10, only 30% did. By 15, it was 12%. And among adults, just 2% passed the genius creativity mark. The conclusion was stark. Non-creative behavior is learned. Society literally trains us to lose that rapid, divergent thinking. Now consider, who are the kids that often resist this conforming process? The ones who fidget, daydream, and tune out boring lectures, children with ADHD. They are the outliers who don't easily yield to the brainwashing of sit still, follow the rules, color inside the lines. No. Their brains, by default, color outside the lines. So, is it any wonder that many of the adults who somehow retain childlike creativity and vision often turn out to have ADHD? It's as if the very neurology of ADHD is designed to preserve a bit of the hunter-gatherer spirit in a modern world that desperately needs innovation. The leaked government report understood this. In fact, an anecdote buried in its pages described a Department of Defense program that actively recruited elite soldiers with ADHD for special cybersecurity teams, precisely because their nonlinear thinking could spot hacker patterns that conventional minds missed. How's that for turning the tables? The Pentagon embracing ADHD while schools still shame it. Why Big Pharma and Big Psychiatry want this buried? If all this is true, if ADHD is a hidden well of talent, why aren't doctors shouting it from the rooftops? Why isn't this front-page news? 2 words: power and profit. That's why I created New Report. The ADHD X Factor. Unlocking the hidden edge behind ADHD brains. Generated image. This isn't therapy. It's not a diagnosis manual. It's a tactical system for turning your ADHD traits into a competitive advantage. Here's what's in the report. The Pentagon's ADHD secret. Why a leaked government memo called ADHD a strategic cognitive advantage, and what it means for your career, creativity, and decision-making. Brain hack or brain trap? The overlooked connectivity glitch in your frontal cortex that makes you 10x more creative, but only if you avoid this common morning habit. Digital dopamine weapon. The FDA-approved video game prescription that boosted attention in 83% of adults with ADHD. No drugs, no side effects, just 25 minutes a day. The hunter's brain. Why ADHD may be evolution's built-in advantage, and how a berry-picking simulation proved the distracted mind is actually the smartest in the room. Why ADHD is a $25 billion lie. The real reason pharmaceutical execs want you sedated, and the suppressed study that sent a shockwave through the psychiatric industry. The sleep mistake costing you your sanity. How a natural circadian glitch in ADHD brains causes burnout, breakdowns, and chronic brain fog, plus the overlooked fix hiding in your fridge. The ADHD gut check. New science shows a wild link between your microbiome and your attention span, and how a $12 grocery aisle fix could outperform meds for some users. Why forgetting everything may be a superpower. Harvard researchers now say poor working memory might actually boost divergent creativity, but only under one bizarre condition. The ADHD entrepreneur pipeline. Why 1 in 5 founders meet the criteria for ADHD, and how their disorder turns into a $1 million insight engine under pressure. Meltdown or supernova. The surprising truth about emotional outbursts in adults with ADHD, and how they may actually signal high-resolution threat detection built for survival. The ADHD X-ray test. The brain scan pattern that can now diagnose ADHD with 90% accuracy, and why it proves your brain is wired, not weak. The ADHD dopamine delay. Myth. New findings show procrastination may be a chemical timing mismatch, and how to fix it with a 3-step dopamine ladder. How ADHD masks itself in high achievers. The overlooked symptoms that get missed in women, minorities, and gifted adults. and why many don't get diagnosed until it's almost too late. But that's not all you get when you upgrade to VIP. Your membership also comes with VIP access. The vault is open. Here's what you unlock when you go. VIP. VIP only posts. Plus, special reports. See how I write what I write. Watch the strategy unfold. Get the stories I can't publish for free. Archy of Hell and Paradise. The unfiltered memoir. Raw. Real. Reverent. Read it before the world does. Limited edition t-shirt. Wear the message. Permission to be powerful. Soft cotton. Sharp energy. One print run. That's it. AI cheat code. Coming soon. The prompt Bible. The exact prompts I use to build. Sales pages. Email sequences. YouTube hooks. Offers that actually convert. These aren't templates. They're cheat codes. The AI Genius Mentor. Coming soon. Trained on elite marketing books, copywriting frameworks, and my personal swipe file. This is ChatGPT on steroids. And it thinks like me. All this and more is available when you become a Permission to be Powerful VIP member today. The total value for everything you get is over $805. But you'll pay only $8 per month. Until next time, Anton Dancer, writer, Buddhist. Permission to be Powerful is a reader-supported publication. To receive new posts and support my work, consider becoming a free or paid subscriber.